Extra Time on Tip FM. Powered by Munster Solar. Delivering solar solutions for homes, farms and businesses across Tipperary and nationwide. Visit munstersolar.ie.
Hello, good evening and welcome to another edition of Extra Time. My name is Ronan Quirk. We're here until 8 o'clock this evening. We'd love to hear from you. Our text number is 083 311 3311. That works for WhatsApp messages as well. You can get us on Blue Sky. Our Blue Sky handle is Extra Time at bsky.social. And that text number and WhatsApp number again is 083 311 3311. Lots to come on tonight's show. We will be looking back on the Munster hurling final. JJ will be with us to chew over that. We'll also have horse racing, and delighted to say that Aidan O'Brien is going to join us after his extending his record winning 12th Epsom Derby win over the weekend. We'll have camogie with Ger Kinane. We'll have the Tipperary football manager Niall Fitzgerald be with us. But if you've been listening to Tip FM today, you'll know that we caught up with Katie Taylor yesterday. She was in Clonmel and she's doing a bit of promotion for her upcoming fight in Croke Park, and we sat down and have a chat. Well, I'm really, really excited and very proud actually to welcome Katie Taylor to Tipperary and to Extra Time here on Tip FM. Katie, it's really good to see you. Thanks for coming in. And you know, we've a lot to talk about, and we're going to do as quick as we can.
Thank you so much for having me.
No, super to see you. I want to talk about Flora Pilley actually, is where I'm going to start with, because I don't want anyone to think that this is some sort of a swan song event, because this is a lady who is 12-0 and she is, I think, the main challenger, the mandatory challenger for the WBC title. So this is no walk in the park. That's exactly it. And I think in my final fight I wanted obviously Croke Park and I wanted a real fight, and those two conditions were met. This is a tough challenge. There's a lot of excitement and a lot of buzz around the place now with the announcement of Croke Park, but I actually have a real fight to prepare for. This isn't going to be an easy night. I have to be at my very, very best to win this fight. She's a young, hungry fighter. But I am also stepping into the ring as hungry as ever as well. So I'm hoping to produce a career best performance on the night, but I have to prepare hard for it. She's, I think, 10 or 11 years younger than you. Do you see a sort of mirror of a 28-year-old Katie Taylor in Flora Pilley? Yeah, I think I don't know. I haven't right now. I haven't watched too much of her fights, but I know that she's a young challenger, and I have to, like I said, I have to at my very, very best to win this fight. But yeah, she is a lot younger than me, but at this stage of my career everyone's younger than me. That's very so, yeah. You know, sometimes hope and history rhyme, and sometimes sport and history rhyme, and I think you have a keen sense of what this is for sport in Ireland, for the Irish people. And I think you fully understand what Croke Park means to you and I, and to sports people. Absolutely. I think even Brian was saying it earlier on that Irish people bleed Croke Park. It's part of our history, it's part of our culture, and I don't think people outside the country really realise how important this venue is to us. And so to actually end my career in such an historic stadium, it's like a fairy tale ending for me, really. And this was on my career bucket list now for a few years, and a complete impossibility a few years ago, even a few months ago I would say, but here we are. Brian and Eddie and the whole team got over the line, and I'm just so grateful. I've heard you speak many times about the privilege it is and how privileged you feel when you go on to, say, headline at Madison Square Gardens, or you're on a bill in Texas in front of X million people watching worldwide, and I don't think that ever leaves you, the sense of privilege you feel. Yeah, absolutely. I think that's so important, isn't it, to have that heart of gratitude stepping into these fights, because there's a lot of pressure obviously involved in these fights, a lot of nerves, but I am always reminded of the fact that I'm in the position that every single fighter wants to be in, to be preparing for these huge battles, these huge fights where the whole world will stop and watch. Every single boxer wants to be where I am right now, and so I never ever take it for granted. I hope I never take it for granted, because this is really is a privilege, and I'm getting up every day doing something I love. What a life. So I'm super grateful. You've spoken before as well about sometimes you have to be prepared to win with skill, but there's a possibility that you have to win with will, which because some days through no fault of your own, your timing might be a bit off.
Yeah.
Just explain that to us a little bit more.
Exactly. I was actually saying that even to a group of girls yesterday about the importance of will rather than skill, because sometimes you might be stepping on the field or in the ring, and like I said, it's not going as well as you'd like, and your time's a bit off, and even when I was playing football, for example, it was like that sometimes, but that's where the heart kicks in, that's where the will to win kicks in, and a lot of times I won the fights of pure will alone when things weren't going as well for me as I would have liked, and I think that's probably the difference sometimes, obviously between a great athlete and a good athlete. They're able to adapt, able to adjust, and able to switch it on when you need to.
Sometimes you got to go to the trenches, because fights just develop, styles make fights, and we'll see more, I suppose, coming closer to fights, what kind of fight this might take place. And I'm just wondering as well about what camp is going to look like for you, and how you're going to prepare, and when does that start, and will it be in Connecticut, or where will it be? Yeah,
I think a combination of Connecticut, a combination of here, a combination of both those things, I think. But the minute I get back to Connecticut now, I'm going to get my head down and do what I usually do, just lock myself away in a bubble and just prepare for this fight. But the intensity does have to rack up now over the next few months. Basically have to beat your body up in training and beat your body into submission every single week to prepare for these battles. You can't go into the trenches on fight night if you don't go into the trenches during training camp. And so the fights are won during training camp.
Is every training camp the same?
For the most part, but there's obviously a few little adjustments here and there. The sparring partners obviously change, depending on how your body's feeling. You have to change it up a small bit as well. But for every training camp, it involves sparring, it involves pad work, bag work, running sessions. All of that is a vital part of getting fit and getting ready for the battle. But you're obviously adjusting a few small things along the way as well.
I'm interested in, you mentioned sparring, and listeners to the show will be familiar with Shauna, who has her big fight coming up for a European title.
Absolutely.
We're very excited about that. Yeah. But she's somebody who's helped you along the way.
Oh, she's been a fantastic help. Her fight thing's on July 12th.
Correct,
and we keep in contact all the time. She's just an amazing person, an amazing fighter, but she was a vital part of my training camps in the last two Serrano fights, and I'm super grateful for that preparation. She really put in some amazing rounds with me, and those spars would have been pay-per-view events in themselves, I think. Amazing sparring. So Sean is just an amazing person. She loves her sport as well.
She does, yeah.
Yeah, I'm so glad she's getting her opportunity, by the way, because she's been working so hard over these last few years, and
sometimes you knock on the door, it doesn't always open.
I know, exactly. Sometimes it definitely involves a bit of luck every now and then, and here she is, a huge opportunity. I'm so happy for her.
Did you have a sense after Serrano 3 that maybe there were no more worlds left to conquer?
Yeah, exactly. I actually had a conversation with Aidan O'Brien after the last fight and said, I'm going to hang up the gloves. I think I'm ready to hang up the gloves if I don't get Croke Park. I don't think there's much else to chase after, really. What else is there to do in the sport other than to finish my career in Croke Park? And so that's when they went on a mission, I guess, over the last year in trying to make this happen for me, and here we are.
I got a sense from you it was Croke Park and nowhere. So if Lansdowne Road had been offered you, or Park, we'd have loved to have you in Thurles.
I like how you still call Lansdowne Road the Aviva.
Oh yeah, okay. I'm just old school.
Yeah, exactly.
It always was Croke Park.
Yeah, exactly.
But it was Croke Park and nowhere.
Yeah, exactly. Just the history of that venue, and it's. It's huge, isn't it? It's 80.
Fight there was Ali. And
exactly. Muhammad Ali, and he's the greatest of all time, and amazing.
Yeah. So coming into this, Brian, I'm going to bring you in for a second, because this is possibly going to be one of the biggest events in Irish sporting history, really.
Yeah, I definitely think, and I suppose what we've been trying to do is to make it an event for all the family. We've had Peter Aiken from Aiken Promotions is on board as well. He's part of the promotion. Eddie Hearn, Peter McKenna's been great in Croke Park, and it's really just we have tickets priced. There's 25% of the arena at €40 and under. So it's really important that we get really from 6 to 86-year-old, from every town in Ireland, and there's going to be, we're trying to bring in elements of sport, literature, culture, arts, music, showbiz, trying to make it, we're going to have a couple of stages. We're not too sure on that yet, and
there's
obviously
a lot of things to do.
Yeah, there's a lot of things, but really it was just to get it over. But it's going to be a great opportunity, if anyone that's admired Katie over the years, to come and celebrate. It's her last dance, last chance to see an icon, last chance, and I think it's very fitting. The last man to fight there was the greatest of all time, and here we have the greatest female of all time, so there's a great link there.
Does it showcase Ireland, though, to a worldwide audience?
Yes, yeah.
Do you have a sense of pressure in that you have to make sure that Ireland, this is what good looks like?
Yes, well, I suppose the pressure was getting here, first of all, which was fucking damn tough, I can tell you. I don't know, someday if I'll ever be able to tell the real truth.
There's a book in it.
There is. So even to get here was quite something, and now, I suppose we've got to get Katie with it. We're doing a nationwide tour. We've done 5 counties yesterday, we're doing 7 today. Katie heads back on Wednesday. So then that's, there's a lot of work starting, but it's just going to be, I suppose, we're trying to make an iconic, monumental. I'm not sure what you compare to, whether it was, the Special Olympics or most people are too young to remember when Pope John Paul came to Phoenix Park.
I was dragged up all right, yeah.
Same as that. Yeah. We're all dragged up. So we're trying to make it a very iconic moment. It's going to be, now I don't know if we'll let Eddie was looking for you to walk around the ring a couple of times, or walk around the stadium.
I'd be exhausted.
But, for the ring entrance. No, it's going to be very, very different, and I'm not sure what and again, some people compare it to Italia 90, but this is going to be, it's definitely a pinch me, where were you when this happened moment.
Katie, I'm going to leave the last word with you, because I know that you've said this is a culmination of, you've ticked every box, every dream you ever had. London, getting the women's boxing to the Olympic Games, all those things. But this is, ultimately the ultimate accolade.
Yeah, absolutely. Super grateful. I mean, I think I started with this dream when I started boxing as a 9 or 10 year old, to be an Olympic champion in a sport that didn't even exist in the Olympics, and I fulfilled a childhood dream, and then I went pro, and I dreamt of headlining Madison Square Garden. I think the last few years were just probably beyond my wildest dreams, really. I didn't even have the capacity to dream these things, and here we are, end of my career in Croke Park. This is just incredible, and I'm so excited for it. I think it's going to be an amazing night, and we're going to celebrate what's great about Ireland. And I think for me, I just carry that Irishness so proudly. I love the fact that I'm stepping into the ring each and every time, representing my amazing country, and I have a chance to do that one last time. I think it's going to be an emotional walk to the ring.
I think it'll all be emotional.
But
some more than others.
yeah, exactly. But it's going to be an amazing night, and the most important thing is I get my hand raised as well. And
well, look, Katie, on behalf of everyone in Tipperary and all our listeners, I just want to wish you the best. I want to thank you for
so
all
much.
the joy you've given us over such a long time. I've followed your career for a long time, and it's a great thrill to meet you. But I just want to wish you well. Stay fit, stay healthy, please God. Go well.
Thank you so much.
I have a lot of Tip friends now.
That was Katie Taylor and her manager Brian Peters in studio with us yesterday, and ahead of that big clash in Croke Park against Flora Pirelli, and that's on Saturday the 5th of September. Tickets go on sale later on this week. What should be one of the greatest sporting events in Irish sporting history, I would imagine. A full Croke Park would be just the most extraordinary finale for one of, without doubt, Ireland's greatest ever athlete. Not Ireland's greatest ever female athlete, Ireland's greatest ever athlete. There was a young lad here from Thurles yesterday, and we had this debate outside, and for me, the 3 greatest athletes Ireland has ever produced, Katie Taylor is so far ahead of him. I'd probably put Sonia second, and Paul O'Donovan probably third in the greatest athletes Ireland has ever produced. If you have an alternate top 3, I'd love to hear from you. 083 311 3311. That's just my tuppence worth of what it's worth. We'll take a quick break. We'll have Gaelic football after this.
Extra time on Tip FM. Powered by Munster Solar. Delivering solar solutions for homes, farms and businesses across Tipperary and nationwide. Visit munstersolar.ie. The Tip FM Sports Star of the Month with the Talbot Hotel Clonmel. Multi-award winning wedding specialists with state-of-the-art leisure facilities and spa with food served daily.
The Tip FM Sports Star of the Month.
Get your nominations in now.
Yeah, don't forget we're taking nominations for the June Tip FM Sports Star of the Month. Don't forget the May Award was won by the Tipperary Senior Camogie team, who are the Munster Senior Camogie champions. We will have Camogie in a little while because they played Waterford in the All-Ireland series. We'll hear from Ger Kinane at around about 7:30 this evening. But let's go to football, because Tipperary's season has ended with defeat in Aughrim against Limerick in the Tailteann Cup third round. Disappointment, I have to say, for Tipperary, who probably went there with some degree of expectations with a half-time lead as well, but ultimately it wasn't to be. Let's hear from Jimmy Feehan. He spoke to Paul Carroll at the full-time whistle.
Yeah, I suppose long 12 months, like you put in a lot of work in the gym, and it's hard to sometimes keep coming back every night. If results are good at the weekend, you bounce into training on Tuesday. If they're not going well, it's a bit harder, but you just put your shoulder to the wheel. You try to help younger lads on, and that's all you can do. Try to help younger lads and hopefully get back in, and thankfully I did today, but unfortunately didn't get the result we wanted.
And the injury itself, was an ankle kind of fracture, or what exactly was it?
It was a ligament reconstruction I got, and then probably got one or two setbacks along the way too. But sometimes you just have to put up with it and put your shoulder to the wheel, and you can't complain, or no one will feel sorry for you at this level. So you just put your shoulder to the wheel and get back training and do as much as you can to get back right.
And you've had a career where you haven't had too many injuries up to that point, so was that difficult, that kind of time away when you're maybe not too used to it?
It was difficult, yeah, but it kind of gives you a chance to go off and do other things, like you can go off on holidays, and you can go to weddings, and you can really enjoy yourself. So there's pluses and minuses, but you'll never replace playing a championship game either,
And with this group that's here now, it's a lot of young lads coming through in their first kind of second year. A good crop of young lads as well. Is it kind of motivating in a way to want to get back to be a part of this group, because there is kind of green shoots there?
Yeah, obviously the lads who came in from the 20s there the last 2-3 years, they're driving on, they're driving the whole group, and it's good to see, because we did have an awful lot of transition there over the last 5-6 years, so it's essentially about keeping the group together, and the more consistency you have in the group of players, the more you can actually develop. So I think we have had that there since Philly started last year, and Niall this year he drove it on again, so there is green shoots there, yeah.
Niall said he couldn't understand how you got through the 70 minutes, I suppose, after coming back from the injury. I mean, just how big was it for you yourself, just to get that game in, get a full 70?
Sure, you don't really think about it when you're out there. You just put the head down and stay going, and you just worry about pain after, so you just stay going and try as hard as you can and go from there,
That's Jimmy Feehan speaking to the media, Paul Carroll, of this particular stable after the defeat at the hands of Wicklow yesterday. Let's hear from Niall Fitzgerald, Tipperary football manager. How are you, Niall?
Ron, how are you?
Good. What was your emotion at the full-time whistle yesterday, knowing that the curtain had come down on the season?
Yes, look, obviously disappointment, but it is what it is, I suppose. We gave ourselves a good start, beating Sligo and the Tailteann, and then albeit having another 2 tough away games, but there were still 2 opportunities to progress to a quarter final, and we didn't take them. And in general, we were disappointed with our especially against Antrim. We were extremely disappointed with that performance. Saturday, we just made life hard for ourselves in the first half. We gave up a needless goal, and then probably didn't take a few chances that we had created ourselves, and at the end of the day, that was probably the rock we perished on.
At half time, you had the wind in the first half. Did you feel that you didn't perhaps capitalise as much on it as you ought to have?
Oh, fully, yeah. We did, we didn't, and the conceding that goal really gave them a big lift during that period, and it probably, while it gave them a lift, it probably, maybe rattled us for 5 to 10 minutes, and we just struggled a bit, and we probably started forcing things then, that happens, I suppose, when you have the wind, you want to that pressure is on to maybe make it count, and then when you can see the goal on top of it, suddenly you're maybe making, like, we had 10 turnovers in the first half, like, which is, I would say it's the highest we've had in a half all year, and that definitely contributed to
just the halftime score,
the halftime score.
I'm thinking though as well, you say like the goal left you a little bit rattled and gave them quite a shot in the arm, but at one stage in the second half you were 3 points up, so the lads came out knowing that they were kind of drinking at the last chance saloon and wanted to go out with landing perhaps a couple of blows.
Yeah, no, and definitely did, like, and in fairness, like, there was great fight there, just didn't capitalise enough on some of our good play, and again there just made a few mistakes. And look, Wicklow are a mature team, and they've been around the block a while. They were very unlucky to lose the I think Talton semi-final last year. Like, they're no bad team, and again, look, we probably I don't think the scoreline maybe reflected the closeness of the game at times.
I think that's fair.
But look, it is what it is, and we just have to we'll have to gather ourselves again now and aim towards next year.
Does Sligo getting into a quarter final give you a sort of sense of what might have been?
Yeah, look.
Or is that just an academic thing, or
Yeah, it is. Like I mean, it's maybe something the J have to look at as well. Like, I mean, we went up and beat them in our first game, and our reward after it was, away to Antrim and away to Wicklow. I mean, we had 3 very tough away games. We were the only team out of the 16 teams that had 3 away games. And that's difficult. Like, it's not simple going winning those away games, but
even the logistics of going to Antrim, in fairness, going up to Croke Park, logistically as well, like.
Yeah, it's difficult, and we had to stay the night before against Sligo also, and then a fairly long bus journey going to Auckland. But I look, at the end of the day, you still, at this level, you're still expected to go out and perform, and we probably, like, in terms of the Antrim game, we felt that we completely underperformed. On Saturday, it was maybe a case of just a little bit of inexperience at times, and maybe not getting that rub of the green at other stages, But like, look, I'm just very proud of the lads. They kept fighting and kept battling, and just didn't go our way.
I'm interested. You described Wicklow as a mature team, which is something that I don't think anyone could describe the Tipperary team as, just judging by the youth and inexperience that's there. But they've gained a huge amount this year in terms of the Division 4 campaign and the 3 Tailteann Cup matches. I suppose the challenge for you is keeping that group together so that you can build on that experience and turn them into the mature team you want.
Oh yeah, it's essential. Like, it takes a few years to condition fellas physically to that level, and then and on top of that, like, even the experience and the smarts to navigate, intercounty senior championship matches. That doesn't develop immediately. That takes a bit of time, and like you interviewed there Jimmy Feehan after the game. Like, like Jimmy has been, I suppose, forged in a wealth of championship matches, and that's why he was able to compete at that level. Just like while Jimmy would say himself, he's probably physically not where he's used to being after coming back from an injury, but that sheer grit and will and experience, like he gave an excellent performance.
That's what you get from Jimmy every time he puts on any jersey, be it a Killinall or one or a Tipperary one. There's no two ways about it.
Exactly, and look, the as I said, it just takes time to develop that, and like it's when you're bringing I suppose a few young players into a setup, and that's a test for them. But we're maybe in a different position than a lot of teams in terms of we're relying on a lot of very young players, and as you said, this year will be massive experience for them, and it's very important to keep the group together.
Maybe sometime when we've more time, Niall, we might do a better and more comprehensive season review. But before I go, and it would be remiss of me not to mention it, but the players all clumped together to raise a few bob for the Friends of Tipperary Football, and I just thought it was a fantastic gesture by a bunch of men who are relatively inexperienced, but that gesture I think belied some of their tender years, because the Tipperary football family, as you well know, is quite small, and they've had 3 significant away games. They travelled to all the away games in the league as well. I just thought it was a lovely gesture and showed the umbilical that's between the team and that small band of the Tipperary football family.
Yeah, so I suppose and you hit the nail on the head. It's it is a small group of supporters, and I suppose because it's small, the players maybe have that greater connection with them, and I know how much they appreciate them, making the sacrifice to travel those long distances, and as you said, look, I couldn't speak highly enough about the players, and the type of group they are, and that was just
that's the epitome of it.
To show the type of people they are.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, look, Niall, thank you for all the time you've given Tip FM over the course of the last couple of months since you came into the job. We will talk in more detail when we have more time as the season progresses and the club season starts. But wishing you all the best, and thanks for your time.
No problem. Thanks, Ron.
Take it easy, Niall. Thanks. Niall Fitzgerald, Tipperary Senior Football Manager, after the season-ending defeat at Wicklow yesterday. Let's keep going because we have an awful lot to go through tonight. Geraldine Kinane is on the line. How are you, Ger?
How are you doing, Ronan?
Disappointment from going to Walsh Park and coming away with a defeat at the hands of Waterford, but Walsh Park has not been a happy hunting ground for Tip over the years.
Yeah, look, it was always going to be a big test and a big challenge for Tip going down to Waterford. I know we bet them a few weeks ago in the Munster final, but I suppose that was a narrow victory. They then had the big home support, and obviously, they were after losing the league final, and they weren't going to be beaten again. But look, I think the main feeling after match was one of disappointment, because we certainly didn't perform, to the best of our ability. And hindsight, looking back, we had chances in the first half, maybe a goal chance that, we got a point out of, a couple of shots dropped short, a couple of, wides. Not crazy amount, but at the same time, we had the wind, we had that wind advantage. We only went in a point up, and, when Waterford got a run on us in the second half, then we struggled to contain them. Beck Carton and Emer O'Neill, I think, got player of the match. And Fitzgerald all picking up points. Lorraine Bray was excellent for them in the middle of the field. So look, we played in kind of spits and, stutters, and, a couple of players, performed very well, but as a whole, another player, we played the best of their ability, and as I said before, scoring 110 is never going to be enough at senior camogie level. So look, it certainly was disappointing, and I suppose to make it even worse, Karen Kennedy went off injured. Looks to be a serious enough cast for a week. Cork beat Galway as well, probably was a shock result as well. So we have to face a Cork team that look to be really finding form now at the right time next weekend. But look, as James said after the match, their backs are against the wall now, and they have to come out fighting. And there's a very quick turnaround against Cork this Sunday in Semper Stadium.
Yeah, it is. And what I picked up from you there is that it just is very hard to change it when suddenly Waterford got a run on you in the second half. Trying to stem that tide is something that's very, very difficult to do.
Yeah, look, I think the Waterford half-back line were excellent. We struggled probably to get the ball into the full forward line. When we did then, Niamh Tracy found Emer McGrath. We won a penalty and Emer finished off the penalty. So, look, that brought back to a 3-point game. But I suppose it was too little too late at that stage. And look, we just probably didn't have enough penetration up front. And like I said, at the back, struggled with Waterford. Once they got hit their purple patch, they just put enough, I suppose, on the board points to beat us. But look, it's certainly not. It's not the end of the season by any means. We have 3 games in this group. We're guaranteed the quarter-final spot. But I think from the outset, Waterford was the game we had lined up to hopefully get a result, because Cork and Galway obviously are tougher tests, and what you don't want is going into a quarter-final against, it looks like probably against Kilkenny or Clare, who maybe have a couple of wins behind them, and they'll be waiting in the long grass for you. So look, we definitely need to see a much improved performance next weekend against Cork, and then 2 weeks later against Galway. Galway, didn't look to be at their best against Cork, so maybe there's a chance there. Definitely there's a chance that we've beaten Cork already this year in the month.
I was going to say there should be no fear from that Cork jersey at this stage.
Yeah, look, we have to believe that we have a chance against them, but a very good chance. But look, there's plenty of talent in that Tipperary squad, and I think they just need to dig deep now and find it on Sunday.
It's Thurles next Sunday at 1 o'clock, did you say?
3:30 actually.
Oh, sorry, 3:30, my apologies.
Today that is in Sub Stadium, so it's great at the Defence Stadium, and it'd be great to see a big tip crowd there to support the girls, because they need a win now, and they need a big support. Yeah,
thanks indeed for your time, Ger.
Thank you.
Not at all. That's Ger Kinane reflecting on that defeat at the hands of Waterford in the first round of the All-Ireland series in senior camogie. Disappointment too for the Tipperary ladies footballers, who lost to Kerry down in Tralee at the weekend as well. So they also, a bit like the camogie team, have a bit of work to do in order to progress their championship credentials. Our text number is 083 311 3311. We're also on WhatsApp 083 311 3311. Somebody takes issue with my greatest Irish athletes of all time and says, where is Christy Ring in relation to that? I suppose I would always gravitate towards individual sports as opposed to team sports, but everyone has their own opinion on sort of league tables like that, but those would be my tuppence worths as well. We've a lot more to come in extra time this evening, because we will have horse racing in a few minutes. We'll also have JJ on the Munster hurling final and a reflection on that, and we'll have a little bit of soccer before we go off air this evening as well. But I'm delighted to be joined by another superstar of his sport after Katie Taylor earlier on. Let's have a word with Aidan O'Brien. How are you, Aidan?
Ronan, good, thanks. How are you?
You're in good company tonight, Aidan. How are you?
Very good, Ronan. Thanks very much.
Aidan, congratulations on record extending 12th win in the Epsom Derby. I wonder what your thoughts were as you were perhaps the night before, or even saddling up your horses, because everyone looks to what Ryan Moore chooses, and I suppose he has the pick of the Ballydoyle entrance, so most of the people focus on that, but it didn't work out for Benvenuti Cellini.
No, absolutely. Yeah, he just got his foot trapped in the stalls just when he went in, and he kind of had to jump out on 3 legs, so that probably was a big disadvantage to him. Obviously the Epsom Derby is such a test, it's such a demanding race, and mentally and physically on a horse you don't really know what's going to happen until the race starts, and you get through the race, really. Obviously, so it all went wrong for him at the start, and really it was a race over then straight away. Obviously, Christmas was very good run and gave him a great ride. He rode him forward all the way. He was a strong, consistent, mature, genuine horse that handled the ground and the conditions, weather and terrain on the day really well. So, so listen, it's such a difficult race to win. You're never sure, and that's obviously why when our horses are well, and obviously they're born, bred, reared to do that, and when they're ready, and if we think they're well, we give them a chance of competing. So it's a massive thing really for horse or rider, breeder, owner, trainer to win it. So listen, we were over the moon really, Ronan, as you could imagine.
Yeah, I can imagine so, and I know that you try and control as many controllables as you like, but that Cellini's horse getting caught in the stalls is something you just can't legislate for. It's just one of those things. It's racing, I suppose, is in summation.
Yeah, it's like all sports. Like you said, you control as much as you can control, but obviously there's things out of your control, and that was one of them. And he just put his leg up on the side of the stalls and couldn't get it back. And obviously when they noticed this, the horses were about to jump, and obviously the stalls handler was shouting leg up, and obviously as he was shouting, as the starter was pulling the handle, and obviously the sound of that muffled what was happening. So listen, it was just one of those things, and sometimes you do your best and that's all you can do, and sometimes it's meant to be and sometimes it's not, and that's, you just accept it, move on, and analyse it after, and see where you go.
Must give credit as well, in fairness, to Ronan Whelan, who, as I think you've already mentioned, gave Christmas Day such a good ride.
Yeah, great rider. Like obviously he's only with us the last couple of years. Very experienced, lovely, quite gentle man, really. Listen, he's a privilege and pleasure to work with every day, and for everybody, really. He's experienced, he's strong, and obviously we were so delighted to have him. Obviously Ryan rides our first horses, Wayne rides our second ones, and then Ronan will ride the third or the fourth or whatever way it is on the day. So yeah, but listen, he's a fella at the height of his powers now, and has all the experience, and like I say, he's a great rider. He's a world class rider, really. So listen, for us it was brilliant to have him.
It must be lovely for you when you've trained Camelot to win the British Classic like you have, and then X years later, was that 2012 I think Camelot won it, and then 13, 14 years later a horse out of Camelot goes on and wins it again. It's the circle that Ballydoyle and Coolmore keep just producing super stallions.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Joseph won a derby on him, and like it was an incredible day. And obviously, we're just amazing. He hasn't had a derby winner yet. That was his first, so that makes it extra special. Listen, he's a great stallion. Middle distance horses, they are. They stay. They have class. They're a little bit kinky, which makes them brilliant. And yeah, no, it's incredible, really, Ronan.
Yeah, look, many congratulations to you as always, Aidan. It's always a pleasure to talk to you when you've had such success. I know you extend that congratulations to everybody in the art and everyone who's behind you who contribute so significantly to your success as well.
Yeah, no, so obviously that's it, exactly. Like, we're only a very small part of the whole thing, and a privilege and pleasure for us it is to work with such special people. The people that do all the work, they're the people that make it happen day in, day out. They all have their own roles, and all the way up along from being on the ground all the way to the work rider, all the way to the people who travel them in the office, the vets, the farriers, everyone. I can't tell you, Ron, how many people are involved to make a horse, to get the horse to that stage on that at that time in that day.
Yeah, and if you have 4 entrants, they're not all going to be 100%. It's impossible. So I suppose when you've got 4 quality horses, the chances are one of them will be competitive going down the last furlong.
Yeah, you hope. Like, obviously, you're never sure, and unless they're good enough on the day, they won't win no matter what. So they have to have the ability, and that starts with obviously the lads who own them, and they breed them, and they really ultimately they're the people that make it happen. Because without them, there'd be no show here, and the horses wouldn't be around. Like 30 years ago, those horses used to be spread all over the world, and they decided to start keeping them in Ireland for all us really to work with, and what a pleasure that has been, and privilege, really.
Also, by the way, we should mention your son who won the Oaks as well. Yeah,
Joseph was incredible.
Yeah.
That first Oaks to win. He won a Ledger a couple of years back, but that was incredible. Obviously, we had fancied fillies in as well, but Joseph has his filly very good on the day. She was brilliant. Dylan gave her a great ride, but he was fancying her all along, and looks a very special filly, really.
Yeah, it'll be interesting chats around the Christmas table, I'm sure, in due course. Aidan, it's always a pleasure to talk to you. Continued success to you. I'm sure, no doubt, we'll chat again. Thanks for your time.
Yeah, appreciate it, Owen. Pleasure.
Take it easy. Thanks indeed. Aidan O'Brien, after his 12th classic winner, in specifically the Derby winner. I think he's got, how many classics he's won, British and Irish, over the years, but some man who might be able to tell us. David Byrnes on the line. How are you, David?
I'm good, Ronan.
I'm going to start this with my interview with you the same way as I always do. We've run out of superlatives for what's going on out in Ballydoyle, haven't we?
Yeah, we have, and just fantastic there to listen to your interview with Aidan. And again, we're so blessed to have a trainer of Aidan's calibre. in Ballydoyle. I know he's working with the greatest horses, but look, he is the one man that can go across the Irish Sea, week in, week out, and get the greatest results. And it's just extraordinary. And not alone that, just heard you at the end of your interview mentioning Joseph as well, and his performance in having a third in the Derby on Saturday and winning the Oaks on Friday. It's some performance for a man that's done it all in the saddle and now doing it in the training ranks as well. It's really,
and carrying the name as well, Joseph O'Brien is a superstar in his own right. He was a great jockey, but like when you're Aidan O'Brien's son, you're always going to have that association. But he's clearly not living in his father's shadow.
Oh, far from it. Look, I think he's got, Aidan and Marie has given all the lads really a great upbringing, and a great. They've Donncha and Joseph had such a career in the saddle, and both have gone on now to, stand on their own 2 feet very strongly in the training ranks. And Joseph, look, has got a wonderful team of horses, and he's well able to deliver. As I said, first in the Oaks on Friday, and to have James J. Braddock, of course, owned by Kevin Blake and Golden, and that's a great story as well in itself. And to finish third in the Derby is a great achievement, and then for your dad to go on and win it, there's so many great stories that we have with the O'Brien family.
I didn't know Kevin Blake actually owned James J. Braddock, a former friend of this show.
Yes, he was. Yeah, that's right. He's involved, Kevin, and a few more of them as well. And he ran an absolute cracker in the race itself. He, of course, won a very good race at Leopardstown before he went to Epsom. And the horse that he beat at Leopardstown, sluiced up last week by 7 or 8 lengths. So I'd say he's a horse that we'll still, find out plenty more about. There's plenty of big races to come in him as well. Look, obviously conditions on Saturday at the Derby was an incredible day of rain and wind, and had a little bit of everything. But look, take nothing away from the winner. It was absolutely brilliant, and it was wonderful to see Ronan Whelan as well, getting such a big opportunity on the big stage. A quite unassuming chap who was really top class at his game, and he gave the winner an absolutely brilliant ride on Saturday.
Yeah, it is. It's another great story, and as you say, we are so privileged. I think you have to pinch yourself and keep reminding yourself that one of the most outstanding, world leading, is going on just a couple of miles really from where you were sitting and where I'm sitting. It is
extraordinary.
It
and
is.
And look,
and you think of the money that's in the Gulf and all the rest, and we are competing at that level. It's quite extraordinary.
Yeah, and look, you consider, I suppose, look, when you think about Godolphin and the money that they would have had, they would have every bit of the same firepower, and they can't deliver the Derbies or the Oaks in which Ballydoyle have done and consistently done over the years, which is quite incredible. So it'll just tell you, as Aidan mentioned there in his piece, that it goes back to everybody that's involved back along, from the people that are choosing stallions for the mayors and for all the people that bring them along. It's just an amazing team effort, and that's the one great thing about Aidan O'Brien. Anytime you see the man, he's always passing on that praise. Okay, he is the man that the buck lies with as the trainer.
And the microphone's stuck in front of his face at the end of the race.
Yeah, absolutely. But he never ever forgets all of the wonderful people that are working behind him each and every day, because these horses don't just get to Epsom Downs or to Leopardstown or wherever it may be without a massive team from the time, as I said, they're conceived to the times they're foals, to brought along the journey that they're on. And I think, it's just it's a superb story. And as I said, they don't just do a 1 year run, they do it year in and year out, which I think is the most extraordinary part of the whole journey, is that you've got brilliant horses. You go back right along from Galileo right to Christmas Day last Saturday, and all of those horses, great horses in between. That's not an accident. That takes a lot of planning and a lot of brilliant people behind the scenes. And as you said, we're just so blessed to have that in County Tipperary, thank God.
I got to fly, David, but thanks for your time.
Thank you, Ronan.
Take care. David Byrnes on yet more success for the Ballydoyle team, which is probably the best way of describing, or probably the way Aidan would want me to describe them as well. JJ Kennedy's on the line. Good evening to you, JJ.
Good evening, Ronan.
JJ, I sat down with giddy anticipation for the Leinster and Munster senior hurling finals, and I was left unimpressed. How did you feel?
Yeah, certainly unimpressed by the Leinster final.
Very boring.
That was a major letdown. The ease of Galway's win just drains the thing. It has nothing to offer really for me. The Munster one, I can understand where you're coming from in a way that.
You're leading up to my next question. Yeah.
Yeah, it wasn't one of the great spectacles of Munster finals when you compare it with others back the decades. But it was still compulsive watching, I thought.
One of my fear is sometimes when games are close, RT in particular, hype them, use hyperbolic language that doesn't fit with what we're seeing in front of us. And the game is littered with frees, and the referee gets a lot of criticism for letting it flow and all this rubbish. But every free he blew for was a free, and had he not blown for it, he would have been doing an injustice to the person who was fouled.
Yeah, I'm on the same wavelength as you with this. It's extraordinary. James Owens has got an awful lot of flack for the sort of stop-start nature of the game. 31 frees, I think, was the final count.
I was surprised it was so low. I thought it was more than that watching it. But anyway, go on.
Yeah, it felt like more. 18 to Limerick and 13 to Cork, I think, was the breakdown.
Which is double, according to Ben O'Connor, by the way, but that's more of a mathematics issue. But we'll come back to that in a second. Go on anyway about frees.
Yeah, Ben has funny views on a lot of things, but it was. You could certainly quibble with the odd free here and there, as you always will with the referee, and say maybe that wasn't a free, or maybe he got that one wrong. But in general, 90-something% of the frees, you go back and you look at them and you say, yeah, that was a free. That was definitely a free. And so it's amazing because it's extraordinary in Gaelic games, in hurling and in football, that we have this thing where referees at times get huge praise for not enforcing the rules, all at the altar of this famous phrase of letting the game run, and it bemuses me really, because the rules are there, and the rules are there to be implemented, and it's not the referee's fault if he has to blow every minute for one. That's down to the players who are doing the fouling, So it's extraordinary. And
is there a pattern emerging? Okay, we can talk about throw ball all we like, but that's just not being enforced. Okay, so we'll just park that for a second. But is there a pattern emerging in terms of pulling fellas, holding hurleys, pulling the spare arm, the swarm defence that's coming in? Some of the tackles are a little bit too high. I'm wondering if there are some tweaks, and I know Willem Maher's gone out and trying to garner some opinion on this, but are there some small tweaks we can do to try and save our game? Because I think our game needs to be saved right now. Yeah,
this review committee has been set up under the chairmanship of John Myler, and they at the moment online a survey where they're inviting people to submit their views. You can do it. I've done it myself online, and you answer so many questions. You could do it in 5 minutes or whatever, and highlight what are the areas you think need addressing, and things like the hand pass and so on are top of the list, I understand, at this stage and what's coming through. So that move, I'm holding out the hope that particular body will address some of the issues that exist with hurling, and and please don't somebody come back and say hurling doesn't need a revamp like football. We know it doesn't, and we're not saying it does, but there are rules that need addressing and need tidying up, and we saw them again yesterday. And I guess yesterday as well, the weather obviously didn't facilitate, the kind of free flow that sometimes you get. You'll get more fouling, I think, in really wet conditions and so on. But everything from the hand throw to the things you're talking about, the development of the rucks, the uncertainty around the tackle. We have this controversy ongoing again, and it was there with the Saturday game as well, that Michael Kennedy is refereeing. I think that's some unfair criticism.
Completely agree.
By the way.
Completely agree. Yeah.
I mean, his two penalty decisions were correct, albeit he did miss the sort of tug back in the lead up to one of them. But that was more a linesman mistake. I thought he should have seen it. But it's you need tightening. Our rules need a lot of tightening. The whole the whole cynical foul rule needs tightening up. The wording of it is daft. It's crazy, and it's open to interpretation. And it really irritated me listening again. Now, I watched both games on television. I wasn't at either of them, but watching the one, I think it was one on Saturday, and where we had the 2 penalties. And again, you have fellas like Michael Dignan and whatever, and the pundits, and they're talking about players. There were defenders back, and they're bringing in irrelevancies into this. They don't seem to even know the rule or understand the rule, and different people, even Brian Gavin, in this particular instance, are very, very critical of both referees at the weekend, which surprised me coming from an ex-referee. I thought he should have had more understanding of what's going on. But there is a lot of tightening up that's needed on these rules. That cynical foul is just one that needs to be nailed down.
Persistent fouling as well.
Persistent fouling, yes, and the loose hand and the spare hand and the pulling and the tugging and all of that sort of stuff needs to be addressed for sure.
Yeah, I fear, I actually do fear that we're going down a road that football went down, and maybe steps might be something that could be looked at, but I don't think there's anything you can do about swarm defences, which I think are killing the game as well. It must be very hard to get any space inside in the inside forward line.
Yeah, it is becoming a problem, and the swarm defence, which is of course a take-off from football, and the development of the rucks. Now, many people would argue, and I think there's a valid point in this, that an awful lot of it stems from the failure to address the hand pass rule, because in its present shape, the hand pass throw, which is what it is, facilitates fellas going into contact and creating these rucks and creating the type of mauls and the type of pulling and dragging that goes on. And I think you need to get that addressed first of all. And if the instinct of players is to move the ball faster, you're going to have fewer rucks, you're going to have fewer incidents of what you're talking about, Ronan, and you'll have a faster game, a more open game. And again, we've done it. We talked about it before. Conor O'Donovan's proposal is one proposal, and I mean, at this stage, people obviously don't believe that it will work, but surely at this stage, it should be trialled. That should be the bare minimum that you do. There's no guarantee that any proposed change will work. I mean, the Football Review Committee had to revise some of its
on the hoof and mid-season as well. Yes.
Yeah. And so at least trial it. Yeah. Trial the thing. And if it doesn't work, then go back to the drawing board and look at something else. But doing nothing, which is what has been going on for a number of years, is just not the answer.
JJ, as always, I couldn't agree with you more. Thanks for your time tonight. We'll talk soon, friend.
You're welcome, Ronan.
Thanks indeed. Doing nothing is not an option. Correct and right, JJ Kennedy. You're absolutely spot on. 083 311 3311. Lots of criticism of James Owens on my text this evening, which I think is unwarranted. But anyway, each to their own. Barry Ryan, how are you?
How are you, Ronan?
We're not going to talk about referees. Banshee Celtic is what we're going to talk about. Fair play to them. I think that they had the disappointment of the Tipperary Cup, decided, you know what, we're going down to the Division 1 playoff final and we want to go up.
Yeah, and look, they finished the season really, really strongly, and they brought the performance that they brought the Tipperary Cup final into the playoff final, and just had that little bit too much for Wilderness as the game wore on. Won a 3-1, couple of set pieces really well executed, really great support on the night from Bancha as well, and a lot of homegrown players coming up through the schoolboys and youths. I think like 90% of their team was made up of players that have come through their schoolboy setup, which is brilliant, and a testimony to a lot of the work that's gone on. I know Michael Grace in particular put an awful lot of work into schoolboys over a number of years, and it's kind of borne fruition there as well. And Johnny Kennedy of St Michael's and Cashel was involved in the coaching side as well, so they were particularly well drilled and structured and stuff as well, and they got their rewards.
They have. Wilderness will be disappointed because they were kind of, nearly favourites for promotion for a long part of the season.
Yeah, I think the killer for Wildies was they had it in their own hands in the last game of the season to beat Ballingarry at home and win the league. And you know yourself in sport, when you get that opportunity and you don't take it, even if there is a second chance down the line or whatever, you fear maybe you've missed the boat. At that level, to win a league title or whatever, you feel you get one go at it. And once they didn't take it, I did fear for them that night once they didn't win the league when it was in their own hands.
One thing congratulations, Banshee Celtic. One thing strikes me, you look on the website and you get the results, as I do every weekend. Results, week 39. And I just don't think a lot of people who have no insight into junior football realise how long a season the junior football season is. Can something be done about it?
Yeah, and I think that's a problem as well in terms of, like, Keane Tracy always says it to me about in terms of the work he does coaching teams and stuff like that. Says, you know, he never understands how a season can last so many weeks and stuff like that. Whereas, you know, the way GA season can be very much condensed into a period, and I suppose, look, there's pros and cons of both maybe at times. But I think in terms of players and trying to, I think summer football is the way to go. You can play off games midweek and weekends then. And you could cut the time in 50% because you could play on Tuesday or Wednesday nights. Players would always prefer to play games rather than train them.
That is true. Just before I let you go, hugely impressive win. I was talking to Katie Taylor yesterday, and we off air had a quick chat about ladies football or ladies soccer, which of course she has a keen interest in. 12 senior caps for Ireland. Grenoble is going to be a difficult task, though, isn't it?
Yeah, look, it was incredible to see Amber Barrett once again come up trumps with a late goal. She really has a knack for that. And look, even seeing Avian Clancy from Presentation Turles on the bench as well, giving us a bit of local interest as well. But it's a huge ask. For anybody kind of wondering, for them to go to France now and win would be huge, because it would also put France or Holland out of the automatic qualification.
Yes.
Personally, I think it'll be a bridge too far, but I don't think it should overestimate what they achieved last week, and they're still going to go into the playoffs.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. Barry, thanks for your time. We'll chat to you during the World Cup's starting on Thursday. One of the greatest shows on earth. But anyway,
absolutely.
More of that and on. Too many matches.
France,
what?
I'm going for France.
You heard it here first, ladies and gentlemen. Thanks for your time, Barry.
Thanks, Ronan.
Good luck and thanks. That's Barry Ryan joining us there. That's all we've got time for this evening. My thanks to Ian O'Connor, who produced. Final texter, one texter says, I don't have a problem with the hand pass.